Ibukun sat in the front row as the choir led the congregation in You Are Yahweh. Her lips moved with the words, but her heart felt numb. Her white blouse, neatly tucked into a pleated navy skirt, still bore the emblem of Glorious God International Group of Schools, raising moral giants for Christ. The words annoy her now, mocking the very pillars that holds the school. It had been 3 weeks since camp ended. 3 weeks since that night, since she was robbed of a precious gift that was hers to keep and hers to give to whom her heart chooses. She hadn't told anyone, not even her mother. She doesn't even know how to start that story, let alone finish it. What would she say? That the bishop's son, Devan Adewale, the heir of the Glorious God Church legacy, the one always leading prayers with his father, Bishop Abel Adewale, had violated her? She couldn't. Not even her mother would believe her. Then there is this shame, this feeling that maybe she had let this happen, that somehow she had brought this upon herself. So she had kept her shame and humiliation to herself. She became withdrawn. She no longer jumped to volunteer for church activities. In school, she kept her eyes low, even during mathematics class, her favorite. Her best friend Moya had tried to get her to open up, but Ibukun simply said she had malaria and had been receiving treatment. She couldn't tell Moya. Besides, Moya had confided in Ibukun that she has a crush on Devon. She would never believe that her dream guy is capable of such despicable behavior. Each night, she scrubbed her skin harder in the bath as if she could peel off what had been done, but the shame had soaked deep under the skin, into the marrow. 2 months later, Ibukun fell ill. It started with tiredness, then nausea, and that strange metallic taste in her mouth that refused to go away, no matter how many Tum-Tum sweets she ate. Her mother took her to the hospital, insisting it must be malaria. The nurse nodded sympathetically and administered injections. Ibukun didn't recover as expected. Instead, her symptoms got worse. The hospital recommended a more comprehensive test. That Tuesday morning, her mother returned from the hospital, clutching a white envelope and a face filled with anguish and disbelief. "Ibukun," she said, standing over her as she lay curled on the sofa. Are you pregnant?" Ibukun blinked, unable to speak. Her stomach turned violently. Her shame has been exposed. There is nowhere left to hide. "Answer me," her mother thundered. Ibukun opened her mouth, but nothing came. Her mother dropped the envelope, turned, and walked into her room. The next few days were a whirlwind. Her father was out of town on business, so was not aware of what has happened. Her mother wept for 3 days straight. Her test has been done in the church hospital, and the nurse must have told someone. The news spread fast. She was called into the principal's office the following Monday. Glorious God International Group of Schools was owned by the church and headed by the bishop's wife. "You know, we do not condone immoral behavior of any kind in our school. We don't want you corrupting other students, so we are placing you on an indefinite suspension pending further investigation." So Ibukun, once the pride of the church youth wing, was now the cautionary tale. The board meeting was held in the school chapel under the giant painting of a blond, blue-eyed baby Jesus cradling a lamb. She sat between her trembling mother and a stern-faced matron from the women's fellowship. At the head of the semicircle sat the bishop's wife, Lady Evangelist Grace Adewale, turban wrapped like a queen's crown, lips pressed thin with judgment, voice sharp and full of disdain. "We are deeply disappointed, Sister Bosse," she said, looking down her nose at Ibukun's mother. "This is what happens when mothers are too busy to teach their granddaughters morals. Too much social media, too much freedom, not enough prayers." Ibukun's mother sobbed quietly, clutching her handbag as though it could shield her from the shame. "And you, Ibukun?" Lady Grace looked at her from head to toe. "A leader in the Teens Fellowship, you have not only disgraced yourself, but endangered others. We cannot let this spread like a virus, and we will not let it slide." There was a note of finality in her voice. "You are hereby expelled from Glorious God International Academy. Let this be a warning to other girls in the school." Ibukun saw red, her vision blurred with rage. She looked at her mother, crushed, humiliated, and now sobbing audibly. She looked at the other women, all of them nodding in agreement. No one on the board had deemed it fit to ask her who the father was. Then she stood. "I didn't disgrace myself," she said, her voice trembling with anger. "Your precious son did." Lady Grace's head jerked up. "What did you say?" "I said, your son, Devan Adewale, raped me." Gasps erupted across the room. Ibukun's mother raised her face for the first time since they entered the chapel and stood to her full height, no longer crying. Evangelist Grace, it seems you have nothing to say. Did you hear what your well-trained son did to my daughter? The bishop's wife, who seemed to have lost the ability to speak after Ibukun's shocking revelation, now sprang to her feet. You lie, Lady Grace spat, rising to her feet. You shameless lying Jezebel. Don't you dare open your dirty mouth and talk to my daughter like that. Ibukun's mother threw back as she flew across the room and grabbed the bishop's wife by the lapel. Chairs scraped, pandemonium and chaos as one woman reached for Ibukun's mother and another held Lady Grace. Ibukun stood tall, chest heaving, eyes locked on the bishop's wife. I'm not going to be anybody's scapegoat. I'm not going down for what your son did. With that, she turned and walked out of the chapel, leaving chaos behind her. By the time Ibukun's father arrived from his business trip, the news was everywhere. The Adewoles were celebrities in the Christian community. Social media and bloggers got hold of the story, and the media frenzy began. Neither Ibukun nor her mother or siblings could leave their house. Chief Engineer Tunde Alade stormed in that evening in a cloud of rage. Talk to me, he said, voice low and dangerous. Ibukun told him everything, from the first time Devante cornered her in Genesis 3, to the night at summer camp, to the betrayal in the chapel. He listened in silence. At the end, he rose and pulled Ibukun into his arms. I'm sorry, my princess. I'm so sorry, he said over and over. Then he made 2 phone calls, one to his lawyer, the other to a private DNA lab. The truth will speak for itself, he said. We'll do a DNA test on the embryo. With the DNA results showing conclusively that Devon was the father of Ibukun's baby, Devon could no longer deny the pregnancy, but he still insisted he hadn't raped her. The Adewoles called a press conference. Devon wore a navy blue suit and a tortured expression. The room was filled with both the press, the church members, and the simply curious. With his parents flanking him, Bishop Adewole, solemn-faced, Lady Grace dabbing her eyes, Devon took to the microphone. I want to start by saying I'm sorry. I did something very wrong, something a man in my position should never have done. I should have known better. I am 18 and 2 years older, but I swear to you and God Almighty, I never raped her. A murmur rippled through the hall. I accept my wrong, and I will take responsibility for my son. His voice cracked. I didn't force Ibukun, he said, almost crying now. She came to my room at summer camp. She was always around me, always finding ways to be so close. I shouldn't have tried harder to avoid her, but I let my human weakness get the better of me, and I apologized to the church, her parents, my parents, and our entire congregation. He broke down in tears and covered his face with his hands, and his father laid a supporting hand on his shoulder. Cameras clicked. Some people nodded while others shook their head in doubt. After that, the bishop thanked the press and told them Devon was devastated and wouldn't be able to take any questions. Ibukun watched it all from her living room, her fists clenched so tight her nails drew blood. Seduce him? She could still remember how his hand held her throat and choked her, how she had feared she was going to die before the ordeal was over. Her mother put an arm around her while her father turned off the TV. Don't worry, my princess. This isn't over, he said. He will pay for everything he has done to you. My lawyers have already filed a case against him. The next day, Devon sat in the dim corner of Shadow's cluttered bedroom. Shadow's real name is Efosa, but he got his nickname because he was brilliant with computers and can hack into most systems. He was hunched over his laptop, his fingers flying over the keyboard. You're sure you want to go through this? He asked without looking up. This isn't just some schoolyard lie. Dude, this is felony-level stuff. I don't know if I want to be involved. Efosa, please, that girl is trying to destroy my life, Devon said, with jaw clenched. I can't let that happen. My father will disown me. Efosa harumphed. You should have thought about that before you forced her. I swear, Efosa, I didn't rape that girl, Devon said. Guy, babe will enter my room, pull clothes. She no wear nada. I no fit lie to you now. In that case, let's do this, Efosa said. I'm not letting some cheap shit ruin my guy. The plan started with Moyo, Ibukun's best friend. Moyo had a huge crush on Devon, and he knows it. The girl have tried everything to make him notice her, but his eyes has always been on Ibukun. Devon approached her after choir rehearsal. Stay away from me, she screamed at him. Please, Moyo, believe me, I didn't force your friend. She lied against me. Please listen to my side of the story before you judge me. Ibukun is trying to frame me because she has been after me for years, and I've always resisted. I told her I didn't love her. It was you I love. You are such a liar. What about the baby? Moyo asked. Moyo, believe me, my only sin was letting her seduce me. After the whole thing, I broke down and confessed to her that I love you and I know you guys are friends, that I plan to ask you out after summer camp. I begged her not to tell you what happened between us, and that was when she fled up and told me she will make me regret rejecting her. Moyo, please, help me clear my name. Moyo laughed nervously. You love me? With all my heart, Devon said, holding her hand. I could introduce you to my parents on Sunday and seek their permission to date you once you're done with school. Moyo's mouth dropped open. What do you want me to do? She asked. Help me tell the world my own version of the truth. Just call her on your phone and record it. Moyo called Ibukun later that night. She persuaded her to talk and acted all sympathetic. Ibukun talked about how Devon had been after her since JSS 3, how he told her he loved her and she had refused him every single time. She talked about summer camp and how she went to his room thinking there was a camp coordinator's meeting and met Devon alone in his room. She told her she hated him so much and couldn't wait for him to be locked up for what he did to her. The next day, Devon handed the audio to Efosa. He did his magic. He hacked into Ibukun's WhatsApp and sent messages to Devon's phone. I love you, Devon. Why can't you love me back? I'll do anything you want. Anything. Backdated and time-stamped, their evil plan was ready. Devante took the stack of evidence to his dad, claiming he thought he deleted all of Ibukun's scheduling, but miraculously, he had found some still in his phone. He handed his phone to his father. The bishop's face hardened. So she's been seducing you all along? That's what I've been telling you, Dad. The bishop sighed heavily, then picked up the phone and dialed. Engineer Alade, before you waste your money on unnecessary litigation against my son, I think you need to see this. Ibukun sat on the cold tiled floor of the living room, her hands trembling as her father waved Devon's phone in her face. That's your voice, Ibukun, he roared, veins bulging in his neck. Your voice, telling that boy you love him with every fiber of your being. Daddy, it's not me. They must have fabricated this somehow, Ibukun wailed as tears streamed down her face. Stop it, her mother snapped, eyes red-rimmed, lips tight. And the messages, were those edited too? The ones from your number, saying you'd do anything for him, that you wanted him even if he didn't want you? Ibukun shook her head violently, her voice breaking. I never sent those. I swear on my life, I would never. Her father slammed his fist into the dining table. Enough! I stood by you. I would have faced the whole church, the world, for you, and you humiliated me. Daddy, please, she whispered, crawling on her knees toward him, clutching at his trouser leg like a child begging not to be abandoned. But he yanked his leg away, like her touch burned him. You're not my daughter, he said, voice cracking. No, you're not. We will make a public apology, her father announced, his tone icy. We've disgraced ourselves enough. Daddy! You will leave this house tomorrow. You are going to Ikari Ekiti to live with your mommy. I can't even look at your face. The following day, Ibukun sat in the back seat of the dusty Hayas bus, staring out the window, numb. Her mother didn't even come out to say goodbye. It was her uncle who drove her to the bus station and put her on the bus to Ikari Ekiti. Her stomach ached. She hadn't eaten since Devon pulled his stunt. How did he do it? She wondered for the umpteenth time. And how did he get Moyo to turn on me? That was our conversation on that recording, but changed somehow. Her grandmother wept when she saw her. Kabo, mommy, come inside. You are safe here. Ibukun went into her arms and cried herself hoarse. 7 months later, she gave birth to a healthy, handsome baby boy. Ibukun named him Tumininu, Comfort, because he was a beautiful gift that came out of the ugliest storm she has had to face in her short life. She would watch him sleep, tiny fist curled by his cheeks, and feel peace and pride. He is hers, and she will take care of him. Her mother came after the birth, but didn't stay long. Her father didn't come at all. They believed that their daughter had lied and deceived them, and Ibukun was done trying to explain herself. When Tumininu began to walk, her grandmother told her she has to go back to school. You're not even 18 yet. You can't put your life on hold just because you had a baby. So Ibukun weaned her son and enrolled into Ikari Ekiti Grammar School. She expected whispers. She expected to walk into the classroom and see judgment in everyone's eyes, but none of that happened. Here, she was not the anomaly. There were other girls like her, young girls who had kids. One had a baby girl who waited outside the gate during lunch break. Another was still nursing and brought her baby in a wrapper. With the Lagos education behind her, she led in every subject. Soon, her classmates began gathering around her after class, asking for help. She didn't plan it, but a tutorial was born. It started with 6 girls under a mango tree after school. Then it became 20, and then students from other schools started showing up. The principal noticed and offered her the use of the school hall and suggested she charge outsiders. So they put a fee of 1,000 naira per month for students from outside their school, but free for their students. At the end of each month, 30% goes to the school, while Ibukun keeps 70% for herself. The next year, she prepared herself and her tutorial students for WAEC, and the Ikare Ekiti Grammar School recorded their best performance in WAEC since their inception. Ibukun cleared all her papers with distinction. After JAMB, she proceeded to Are Ogunmola University of Education, Ikare Ekiti. Her grandmother took care of Tomininu. The sun had barely risen over the ancient town of Ikare Ekiti when Ibukun, fresh from her NYSC in Akwa Ibom State, stood before a dusty, abandoned building near her grandmother's church. She stared at the cracked walls and broken windows, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and purpose. This was it. This forgotten structure would become the cradle of dreams. She called it Christville Group of Schools. Her grandmother borrowed money from the farmers' cooperative and gave her. She patched the walls, mended the broken windows, cleared the bushes around the structure, and gave the walls a new coat of paint. Then she printed flyers and shared in the churches around the community, addressed the village women's meeting, and even involved the village head. Ibukun poured herself into the school, teaching, cleaning, fixing broken chairs, writing lesson plans by lantern light. Within a year, Christville had tripled in size. Parents from neighboring towns brought their children, lured by word-of-mouth testimonies. "They teach like those big city schools, oh," a woman said. "My daughter can now read Yoruba and English fluently," said another. In 5 years, the school was in the news. The pupils had won a national quiz competition, and the newspaper interviewed Ibukun. The winning put Christville in the limelight, and soon they outgrew the building where they started. Her grandmother showed her a large expanse of land that belonged to her grandfather and told her to build her school there. From their humble beginning 10 years ago, Christville Group of School now operates from an imposting 2-story building in a 1-acre property that houses a hostel, football field, basketball court, tennis court, and a mini stadium. One day, her secretary told her a man was looking for her. She told her to let him in. She looked up as he entered and froze. Standing there was her father. His eyes weren't hard now, they were proud. "Ibukun," he said, voice thick. She didn't let him finish and ran to his arms. "I've missed you," she said. "I've missed you, Daddy." "I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I was angry. I felt betrayed. I should have been more considerate." "Hey, Mom," said Tomininu, and came in without knocking. Now a strapping 10-year-old in Genesis 2 and a carbon copy of Devan Adewale. Her father's eyes welled up instantly as he came in. He held out his arms, trembling. "Come here, my son," and the boy reconnected with his grandfather. Ibukun, now Professor Ibukun Anike Balogun, stood at her office window, a brown official envelope in her hand. From that vintage position, one have a panoramic view of the entire school. She can't help but feel proud of what she has been able to accomplish in 2 decades. Ibukun looked at the students engaged in several sporting activities on the green turf, then looked at the envelope in her hand, and her heart swelled with pride. The Nigerian University Council has approved her application to build a university. Yes, Christville University will finally become a dream come true. She can't wait to tell Tomininu the good news when she calls him this evening. He now lives in the UK, where he studies medicine at Oxford University. Devan Adewale, now Pastor Devan Adewale, had taken over Glorious God Ministries from his ailing father, but the pulpit gave him no peace. He carried a wound in his spirit, not from what had been done to him, but from what he had done. His marriage with Moyo didn't last. She now lives in the United States with their 2 daughters, and he hardly sees them. His life has been a hollow lie. Now, he needed more than a second chance. He needed absolution. And so, one quiet Tuesday morning, he made his way to the headquarters of Christville Group of Schools. When he saw her, he fell on his knees. "Ibukun," he began, his voice cracking, "please forgive me. I haven't known peace in 20 years. She was silent for a long moment. Then she stood and walked to the window, her back to him. "I forgave you," she said quietly. "The day I first held my son in my arms, he was a gift, regardless of the horror that brought him." Devan bowed his head, weeping. "Thank you," he whispered. She turned to face him, her voice steady. "But if you want peace, real peace, you won't find it here. I have none to give you." He looked up, confused. "You want absolution?" she asked. Go and confess, not to me, not in secret, to the world, to the people who still call you man of God. That's the only path to peace. Anything else is just cowardice in a clerical color. That night, the nation watched in shock as Bishop Devon Adewale stood at a press conference flanked by his church board and legal representatives. His voice trembled as he spoke. 20 years ago, I committed a grievous sin. I took advantage of a young girl in my care and I buried the truth. But today, I have decided to dig it up myself. Not for pity, not for applause, but for peace. He didn't wait for applause. He didn't take questions. When it was done, he walked to the nearest police station and turned himself in. That night, he laid on a hard cement slab in the holding cell, surrounded by the smell of sweat and rust, and yet, for the first time in 20 years, he slept like a child. For you who is watching this video, I want you to know, though you may not have control over how other people may treat you or the stones life may throw at you, what you do have total control over is how you react. Most times, it is not the difficulties a person encounters that breaks them, it is how they handle those difficulties. If you have been inspired by today's episode, please subscribe, like, and share with your network.